7. It never takes 5. We are here live. We are here live. Rick and Jim Hardy from the Indian Wells office in the lovely state of California. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I've accomplished something now. I feel like I've accomplished something getting on the live Facebook.
Of course.
It's been a haul, man. It's really been a haul getting this far. So,
well,
thanks.
Tell us a little about yourself. Tell them how you got into real. Tell them a little about yourself, how you got into it, what you did before, your whole transition. I think that's a very interesting story, Jim.
Well, I worked for Costco Wholesale for 26 years, and I learned quite a few skills in dealing with the public by doing so. I probably could, and I probably should write a book on some of my experiences between management, and people that came in and saw the place, and customers. You're called members at Costco because you pay for the abuse that we give you. So, the membership experiences. But I mean, really, it was always about, like, if somebody was mad at you or yelling at you when you're at Costco, it was never about you, actually, like me. It was about them. It was about something that's going on with their life. And once you realize that, you just kind of, all you had to do is just stop and go, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
I mean, just ask them, "Are you, there's something, I don't think you're mad about the fact that we ran out of this. I think you're mad about something else. Do you want to talk about it, or is that something that's like out of the question for you?" And oftentimes I had so many people opening up to me, and then they would give me good reviews and go, "Wow," because at Costco, everybody, my name badge said Hardy. Story behind that is the fact that there was so many Jims or James or Jimmies at Costco, especially when Senegal was heading it up, that people would say, well, "Okay, well, go help Jim, with this or whatever," or, when they're like, "Which Jim?" "Well, Jim Hardy." I'm like, "Can we just shorten it and just, like, you can either put Coach," because I coached wrestling at the time, so I was always called Coach then, or just call me Hardy. And they said that just stuck. So I can always tell you can always tell how people know me is if they call me Hardy, they're from my 26 years at Costco Wholesale.
I have a very important question about Costco. Do you remember the day? Do you remember the day the $1 hot dog went above $1?
I was not there that time. It was at 150 when I started in 1996. And
all right.
However, I'm pretty sure, just like when they took away the Polish dog, it was the same blowback from members. Like, "What do you mean you got rid of the Polish?" I'm like, "Well, I'm looking at numbers," because I was a numbers guy, and I'd look at bottom line, and I'd run things efficiently. Things that you learn in doing so, like you learn how to run a small business while working at Costco and running a department, right? Which I've done. I ran multiple departments while I did that, and I got really efficient at doing that. And the profit share, guess who it went to? Spoiler: it wasn't me. Profit share would go to the GM. And the GM would go, "Thanks, pat on the back, accolades, talk you up, make you feel good," which is nice, but monetarily, it didn't transition into my pocketbook. And it really made me realize that, although I'm grateful for the stability and benefits that I had while I was at Costco, there was a ceiling. There was a glass ceiling that I was never going to cross. And I had a growing family with mouths to feed, and I wanted to be able to retire or make enough money so I can go take the family on vacations, because I wasn't making enough, right? So my story from there was I learned that I just wanted to be my own boss. Not that I had any problems with the bosses that I worked with. There was one or two that was questionable, but that's going to be in any international corporation that you're going to work into. There's always going to be somebody that you don't work well with, and I was able to navigate that. But the glass ceiling really was more about the connections and not about merit and your abilities. And that's hard to say because Costco enjoys this reputation for being a company that pays well, gives good benefits, gets you a 401k, and they promote from within. And although they do and they talk about those, there's people like myself, and it may be I've had to self-reflect quite a bit. It may be part of my own fault by getting passed over 52 times. And yes, I counted, but but I just I realized that at some point I'm going to have to take the risk and take the jump and be my own boss. And so, although I've been with I've been doing real estate it'll be 8 years in September officially. So, because yes, you do the math. I'm getting my re-upping and doing my re-education and licensing. I just realized I wanted to be my own boss. Right. And it's been the last 3 years that I cut the ties. It's like my anniversary, my Costco anniversary was July 11th. And it was July 12th that I went in and I said, I can't do this anymore. This isn't working. And, they tried to talk me out of it. And they even offered, want you to go on a part-time. And I go, I don't know if I want to work that hard because I know how you treat part-time workers, right? You're going to, if I'm as a full-time worker with seniority, and I had quite a bit of seniority at 26 years, right? You typically have some set days off. For me, it was Sunday, Mondays, and but the part-timers would fill in the void, and sometimes they would work 7 days a week, but they would still finagle it so that they're within the range where they're not working on straight sevens by the calendars. So I knew that if I was a part-timer, first off, the benefits that you have goes to part-time benefits, which is less. Growing family, that's not an option. And secondly, I knew that they were going to take advantage of my skill set because I made myself pretty invaluable working there. I could work multiple departments. I headed up, I never managed. I was never a manager. I was always a supervisor. So I was I'd make the manager above me look really good. And then they would promote them above me, and then they would promote other supervisors above me that I trained. So I kind of got a bad taste in my mouth in that's for sure. And it still stings sometimes. However, with good humor, I just kept with good humor about it. And I took that leap and I said, enough's enough. This is what I want to do. I want to do real estate. Because during the downturn in 2008, that's when I moved from Washington down to the La Quinta area that I'm in now. And, before that, I was trying to flip houses. I was being my own guy. I had a house that I just put into contract, and I was doing like a cosmetic fix, and then I was going to flip it. And that's when everything stopped. So I had to sell that one short. And then the condo or the townhouse that my wife and I had, because we were pregnant with our first child back then, that we had to sell that one short just to move down here. I'm like, if we're going to move and we're going to take a hit, we might as well make the move now. And that's what we did. So I knew that I wanted to do real estate, but it took my wife a long time to think about even think about real estate because she had such a bad taste in her mouth from the downturn. And I'm like, oh, look, I'm going to be a real estate agent instead and not take all the risk up front. And I think we've learned quite a bit. And if there's anything that I've learned is that through all of the ups and downs, success never looked like a straight line. It's always laced in the failures and the things that you learned from those failures. And with that in mind, she's been my rock in that whole fashion, because for the first year after I started doing this full time, I didn't make any money. And that was hard. That was really hard. I was living on the 401k money that I had that I had built up at Costco. And even that was running tight. and being a Gen Xer, I probably look pretty good considering I had a pretty nice robust 401k, but the government wanted 40% of that. So because I pulled it out, my own fault doing it that way, but I needed the money to be able to live.
While you got this going.
While I got this going, and it's amazing how that money goes fast. Mm-hmm. So, here I am. I'm trying to make this work, and this last year, I did really well. I had a really good year, and it was once I started utilizing the coaching and going, okay, what do I need to do? and I found out the things that I'm willing to do, that I'm comfortable doing, and I found out the things I'm not comfortable doing. And, I have my own modality of how I work, and I know how hard I work. I mean, I wrestled for, 10 years, and you wouldn't know it looking at me because I let myself go because I don't want to work that hard anymore physically. I do need to get back in shape. I know this, and that's on the docket this year. So I just, but I knew that you have to go in and do the work. You got to go in and work the takedown. You got to go in and keep drilling it.
You started doing the stuff and then filling the pipeline, and then it's all come together now. So give them an idea. First off, give them an idea what your goal is for 2025, and then how you're going to achieve it. The things that we go through in our coaching call.
The goal is 30 closings, $306,000 a year in income. That's the goal. Whether I surpass it or meet it or fall short, that doesn't matter. The point of having the goal for me is to have a target that I can break down to what I'm doing on a daily basis. And that's what I do. That's what I do. You got to have conversations. Is that going to, what's that going to look like? For me, it's a myriad of things. A lot of my sphere, my buying sphere for sure, is former coworkers at Costco. So I take them stuff, and go to the I know where their break room is. I know who to talk to, and I can go and talk to them. And I've been able to generate some rapport with that and get referrals that way. So that was part of it, and the other part is providing value to the community at large, and the value needs to be something where they see me as the authority or at least a trustworthy person to come in and ask questions so that they have a means to move forward and get the most for their property or to get the best deal out there, because I have to make sure that I'm staying in front of that. And, and what I do, is I just focus on conversations. They know I'm a real estate agent. It's all over the place. I'm kind of an Google Ads geek, and I know how to retarget people that go to my website. And that was the first thing I had to do. Once I started doing that, when I call people, it's not always a cold call anymore, because they're like, "Oh, I've seen your stuff. I've seen you. Oh yeah." They feel like they know me a little bit, and it's taken place of postcards to a certain extent. That doesn't mean I don't do postcards. I do postcards, but there's QR codes that drives them to my site that has a Google tag on it, and then they start seeing the market updates I make. Because like yesterday, I made 9 market updates. 8 of the cities that I work in, and one that does like an all-encompassing of the whole valley And I don't get a whole lot of views on it until I put it on my retargeting campaigns, which I haven't done yet, which is I drip them. I set them up, and they go into my YouTube channel, because Google Ads and YouTube work really well. They're the same company, right? And I work towards that as my brand. And then as I have a listing, I promote the listing in my Google Ad retargeting, and easily I get over 100,000 impressions a year, about 10,000 impressions a month. and I'm getting better and better and better at it, so much so that I could probably be a Google Ads expert now. But and that kind of sets me apart, and I know it does. And I took about 18 months to fine tune that and to prime my Google Ads account, and that you use Ad Phoenix and you use some of the programs that's available, and they work. The goal for me is not necessarily a cold conversion. The goal for me is to retarget them and maybe convert them there, and eventually I'll get around to calling them at some point. And that's the goal. I try to have 30 conversations a day if I can. If it's not 30, then however many I did, that's more than I would have done years ago, where I'd be like, I didn't feel comfortable calling. But you have to have a message. You have to have a message that's going to be of value to them. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. And
Right.
I do a hyper-targeted program. It starts with a neighborhood report, and then I put them on a 8 to 15 touch campaign that I built within Bold Trail. And so I'm using both, and I've got probably about a little over 2,300 that are on the neighborhood reports. But if they're on the neighborhood reports, I'm not targeting every single one of them with like a touch point where they get a postcard and a handwritten card and things like that. I'm only targeting the people that actually open and click on the neighborhood report. They've shown interest, so then they see it. So it's very hyper targeted because I identify them every day. I identify them and I see if they're on it, and then I see if I can maybe give them a call. So
Right.
I generate calls from that. Part of I have a call and email list.
The data that you're using is coming from the neighborhood report and from Bold Trail, which, so everybody understands, those are two products right through the VAC that you can use with the company. And then you're retargeting them on your Google and your Google ads and so forth.
Correct. Because my Google ads, it cost me like $30-$40 a month to retarget people, and I looked at for just this month alone, since this is the month it really got primed, 500 clicks, almost 11,000 impressions going in, and the month hasn't ended yet. And I think I've paid like 45. I'm scheduled to pay $45 for this month. Right.
And these
would you retarget for $45 a month and be able to get that? Yeah, people absolutely would. Because if I were to do postcards, I'd be able to follow up with the same 100 people for the same amount of money.
I love it. So that's like an advanced, I'm doing a little something called Is Your Net Working, through my training. And part of it is getting them to do what you just mentioned about the neighborhood reports and Bold Trail. But you've added that whole part on with the Google targeted ads and retargeting and so forth, which I think is really smart, and your YouTube channel. Well, give them an idea of what kind of content you put on your YouTube channel.
Market updates, valuable information about the forms, stuff that you're going to talk to clients about. And oftentimes, what I do, if I have let's say I have a pre-listing appointment, I don't just send them an email and ask them for stuff. I'm like, well, I send them links to videos about certain things that they're going to have questions about. So if I have it for tomorrow, I send them an email and then I text them. I'm like, oh, look, I just sent you an email with some video links. It's no more than a few minutes that explains a few things, so that when I sit down and talk to you, we're talking all about you, and we're talking all about the marketing strategies that sets me apart from other agents around here. And that's usually the first part of closing them, and I hate to say closing. It's really about just educating them. Yeah. If you educate them and they see that, you bring value, there's no reason why they're not going to do that, and then I do a tiered approach. I don't say my fee is this. I go, okay, well, if you want 2%, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be this stuff, this little thing, this little amount of stuff, right? If you want, if you're going to do 2.5%, you'll get more. and I'll do these other things. But if you want 3%, these are all the things that I do, and this is how I'm marketing to, that's going to set me apart. So 99% of the time they're saying 3. They want the 3.
Yeah.
Right. Because I give them a tiered approach, and I let them choose. I make it a la carte. What do you want to do? If you want me to just list it and enter it in, I can do that. But how serious are you ready to sell it? I mean, do you really want to sell it, or you just want to test the waters? Okay, we'll test the waters for 2%, and I'm going to be very little skin in the game. Right. I'm going to put it in there, and I'll be the contact, and I'll still give you full service, but I'm not going to pay for my ads, because I'm investing in selling a property, and you don't sound like you're really committed yet.
Right. Love it.
So, and they all say, well, I want the 3%. Yeah, I know you want 3%. I know you want 3% stuff that I do, but I'm investing in you then. And you're not giving me a reason to invest in you yet.
Love it. Yeah. Good for you.
So, but as I'm getting busier and busier, I'm getting better and better at it. I'm asserting myself definitely a lot more. And agents that are relatively new, or they don't do very much business, they don't have that confidence because for whatever reason, there's they'll almost do anything to get the listing, or to whatever. And I never wanted to be like that. I wanted to be able to pick and choose who I work with. Like, you're somebody that's actually willing to actually sign on the dotted line that I'm their guy.
Right.
If I'm representing them as a buyer, then they're going to sign the BRBC. And I'm going to, and if we do it for just a week, great. I'm going to blow their socks off, and they're going to go, yeah, you're my guy. Let's do it for a good 6 months or whatever. Awesome. And if I don't blow them away, that's my fault. But, there's that failure I'm laced in, I shroud myself in so I can find that success down the road. And I ask myself what happened. Sometimes it's not 100% my fault. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try to find a way to make it better or get better at it. Yeah.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is, from your days at Costco and experience, you are no longer a hostage. You're taking hostages. You're the guy that's in control, because you're willing to do the work to put you in front of motivated people. So now you have motivated people to work with. Motivated people are easy to work with. They take advice. They want to get top dollar. They understand. Where the less motivated ones will run you around, and then they don't end up selling. So it's kind of like,
right. And I haven't had anybody that I've signed not be motivated, but yet it's going to happen. There's no way around it. But we'll see. I got potential one coming up here, and I got on my board right in front of me over here, I got a list of all these hot leads that they said that they wanted to. One of them said they went with somebody else just the other day, and I asked them why, and they didn't give me an answer because they couldn't give me one, and they never really even gave me a chance, because I didn't get a chance to meet them yet. But but I have a feeling that if it doesn't sell, I'll be the first person they call. So and I'll just stay in front of them for that. They'll still be on the neighborhood report. They'll still be able to see that. I'm not soliciting them. I'm just giving them information, and then they can decide if that they really want to sell it. They need to contact me. So
good. Excellent. All right. Well, as we get close to the end here, I want to make sure I get this question in, Jim. So if you could, let's say, okay, so what you've learned and all that good stuff, if you could give somebody an advice, whether they're brand new or trying to take it to the next level, what would be the top 3 things you tell them to focus on to really, enjoy this experience called real estate?
First and foremost,
yes,
find a coach or a mentor. Somebody's going to hold you accountable. You cannot. The most successful people in this world are people that have coaches, right? It's even coaches like yourself have coaches, people that help you in the process. And when I wrestled and I coached wrestling, the kids that were open to being coached got exponentially better than the ones that wanted to do it their own way. And sometimes those kids that wanted to do it their own way, don't get me wrong, hyper talented, did very well, could have been better.
Right.
And because persistence and perseverance and hard work get you more and better results than people that don't. So that aren't, than talent for the most part. So that's the first thing I would do is like find a coach or a mentor, and
I
you
like
got
that
to be
one.
able to match them. Yeah, exactly. And
Well, I think it
one of the
was
reasons.
didn't we have this talk a while ago where you were thinking about paying a coach, and I was like, well, why don't you give me a shot because I'm free. I'm with the company, and you said okay, and and it kind of worked out well. So I'm glad you did that.
It worked out great because I was getting the same information from you because I did get it. I did use Tom Ferry's coaching system, and um, I was I didn't get what I was expecting. I mean, he helped me quite a bit for the most part, but I was getting the same information from you, and it wasn't much different. And more and honestly, quite honestly, you provided more insights than he did.
Thank
And
you. I love Tom. I love Mike. I love Brian Buffini. I love them all. But I'm here, and the thing about what I get to do is I get to everything I've learned. I call myself idea agnostic, right? Any idea I've heard, I use if it works. Plus my experience from doing it for 40 years now, coaching 25 of them. So I
yeah,
appreciate that. But I have a slight unfair advantage because I get to use everybody's stuff. I don't have to just stick to one. I think some of Brian
right,
Buffini stuff is great. Referral only, I think it's great. I wouldn't just do that. Tom's stuff is really good, especially from a social media and getting out there and cutting edge. And then the Mike Ferry stuff, the foundational stuff, you can never short either. And then there's
right.
other stuff involved, like you mentioned too, listening to people. When you make people feel comfortable, like what you learned at Costco, you make people feel comfortable by really digging out what the real problem is, by digging deeper, asking open-ended questions. That's a skill. Like you said, it's not really selling, it's really listening and solving a problem.
Yes, the NEPQ method. The,
Yes.
the neural, you're gonna do a pattern interrupt with them, and you're going to get them to realize that you actually really care, and
Yeah.
and because you do. I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean, I'm an empathetic person.
You
I'm
are.
so empathetic that I'll watch Mr. Holland's Opens and cry every single time. I mean, just things like that, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'll watch Unstoppable and will tear up in that one, mainly because because it's about one of my passions, in wrestling, which I can't really do anymore. My body says no. So, but a coach, right? And the second thing I get is I would schedule mandatory time to talk to people. Like mandatory, you got to go out and talk to people, whether you're doing it on the phone or you're doing it through a video call or you're doing it just making videos, getting out there and trying to get people to engage with you would be great. But more importantly, you got to schedule those time to talk to people. And that means you got to get off your duff and you got to go places to do it, then do so. I mean, I do it with my sphere. My major sphere is at Costco, but I also do it. I joined Toastmasters this year because I wanted to get better at telling stories and being better at speaking and things like that. Matter of fact, I had my first icebreaker speech tonight at Toastmasters, and
Nice.
yeah, thank you. And and last night the coach that I got from Toastmasters, right? Because they have somebody that helps you. See, again, there's a pattern there. Get a coach. He gave me like some last minute notes, and I had to revamp my entire speech last night just so I could be ready for tonight. And although I've got it probably about 60% of the way, that's part of the time I'm going to have to take some time to myself and go over it because you don't want to do a speech and it's a memorization because I'm not an actor. I'm not doing a script. I'm not reading it in word for word script like a monologue, but you are telling a story and a message. So definitely schedule time to do that. Be a joiner, schedule time, do things, be a joiner, talk to people, always talking to people, just and invest time with people because that's something that I thought I could do it without. I could be passive. When I started 8 years ago, right? Nearly 8 years ago, and I thought I could just, pay for an ad and get calls in and money start coming in. That's simplified, but yes. And that's far from the truth. You've got to go out and find the people. Don't be that secret agent, but at the same time, they know you're an agent because they're going to always ask you, so what do you do?
Right.
Well, I sell real estate. I help people buy and sell property. Oh, great. And I don't make a big deal of it until they want to know more. But that leads me to the third thing, that is to be a student of the market. Understand the market inside and out, understand the area. It's so important to do that. Take time, even if it's just one day a week, to go and tour properties. We do it at our office on Tuesdays after our meeting. If there's no caravans, I try to go and find open houses, or see, like, maybe I wanted to go and see a certain neighborhood or something that looks like that. Maybe it's like a go direct or something like that. I go and find something so I can talk about it, because when I meet somebody up front, when I meet somebody somewhere, what do you do? And they say, "Oh, I'm looking for a property," and I just went and saw a property. This is something I learned from Gina right off the bat. Yeah, I can go, you know what? I just saw this property down the street, and I can start talking about it almost like I'm selling it. But did you want to go and see that one, or did you want to see something else? And you already showed value doing that.
Yeah.
And you kind of live it. And I really like the way this is working. I know the challenges about getting people to sign the buyer broker compensation agreement, but as I got better and better at understanding what it's about, I got better and better about just having a pitch of some sort, showing value to a buyer where they realize that they want you in their corner when they're buying the house. Because you can kind of poke at fear and go, there's a reason why it's 15 pages long. Almost every line is a direct result of some sort of lawsuit happened because some disclosure didn't happen. Somebody didn't tell you something, or somebody lied about something else, things like that. And that's why these are in place, and you kind of want somebody that understands the ins and outs of it, understands the contract and the timelines and constraints, and has your fiduciary position in mind, so that you can go forward with some confidence.
Right. Yeah. I love it, my man. All great stuff. Well, I just want to say, Jim, thank you very much for taking your time out today. This was completely educational. I know that people got a bunch of nuggets out of it. You're doing great. Keep it rocking. Pleasure working with you, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been fun, and I was a bit surprised. People in the office like, "Oh, you're going to be on the podcast with Rick," and I'm like, "I guess I'm doing okay. Sure, yeah."
You're okay. A goal of 30. Is especially with your average sale price there is a dynamite over 300,000 in commissions. Hey, that's less than 4% of the planet. Actually, I think it's 3 now. 3% of the planet makes $300,000 or more. So congratulations. Pleasure working with you. We'll keep it rocking. And bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. See you, Jim. Thank you. See you, everybody. Bye, Paul.